Israel has a new foreign minister. Who is he, and how does he see the most urgent issues facing the Jewish state and the U.S.-Israel alliance? Not only is he a new foreign minister, but he's about to deal with a new administration, a new sheriff in town in Washington, and a new ambassador from the United States to Israel, a high-profile evangelical Christian. Hi, this is Joel Rosenberg. Welcome to the Rosenberg Report. And it's been a dramatic few days here in Israel. I guess I don't get tired of saying that, but events are moving so quickly. And we have an opportunity to take you inside the foreign ministry to one of the most senior officials in the government of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Gideon Sa'ar is the new foreign minister. He's only been in this position for less than 2 weeks. And I've known him for about 18 years. And it happened to be that on the Tuesday morning that he got announced to be the foreign minister, but before that was announced, I was having some time in the scriptures and prayer, and I just thought, Gideon Sa'ar, he's an interesting guy. I've known him for a long time. He'd be an interesting person to interview. I wonder what's his take on the Iran threat, the war against Hezbollah and against Hamas, and the U.S.-Israel relationship. So I texted him and say, hey, would you be open to being on the Rosenberg Report? And he immediately texted back to say yes. He knew, but I didn't at that moment, that just in a few hours, he would be named Israel's main diplomat and Israel's chief spokesman. So I had an opportunity to sit down with him, and it turned out to be for his first interview with any American or Israeli TV network or media outlet of any kind. So I really appreciated it, and I think it sends an interesting signal that Gideon Sa'ar wanted to speak to the evangelical Christian audience of TBN as well as All Israel News in his first interview as foreign minister. So let's get to it. It's a fascinating conversation. Let's get started. But first, I want to say that in Israel's darkest hour, a lot of people are asking me, how can we help? How can we support Israel in its time of greatest need and be part of that biblical mandate found in Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, where God is speaking of blessing those who bless the people of Israel, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Well, a great way to do it is to partner with our sponsor of today's edition of the Rosenberg Report, ARTSA. Go to artsabox.com. Use the discount promo code RR15, Rosenberg Report 15, to get a 15% discount off the price of your ARTSA box. They are literally a taste of the Holy Land, and they come directly to your home in a beautiful box that contains potpourri, a range of all kinds of products made in Israel by all kinds of Israeli artisans, entrepreneurs, and small business owners. You're going to love them for yourself, for your family, and they make great gifts as well. Check it out. Go to artsabox.com, use the discount code RR15, Rosenberg Report 15, and I have no doubt that you'll love these boxes, these ARTSA boxes, as much as Lynn and I do. Gideon Sa'ar, you and I have known each other for almost 20 years, maybe 18, but you're the foreign minister of Israel now. It's a hugely important position at maybe the most dangerous moment in Israel's modern history in terms of the avalanche of lies that are being told, not only in foreign media, but in foreign government. So first of all, as a friend, congratulations to you.
Thank you, Joel.
It's good to see you here.
Thank you. First of all, it's always a heavy task to be the foreign minister of Israel, but I think during these times of a great war in so many fronts and huge attack on Israel's rights to exist as a Jewish state, Israel's right to exercise its right for self-defense, all these rights are under attack for those who want to eliminate this state. I see here huge challenges, but I also see opportunities.
Really?
Because on one hand, we changed reality on the ground during the last year, and we were able to weaken very much the axis leading by Iran struggling against us. And on the other hand, we see just last day the nominations expected by the current administration in Washington, all great friends of the State of Israel. So I think we can reach heights. So I see the difficulties, I see the challenges, but I also see opportunities.
I want to talk about threats, but also opportunities. It's very, very interesting. You're right. Let's take a moment on, you have to be bipartisan, of course, and you are. Israel is,
Yeah.
And respectful of the Biden-Harris team, but also, preparing yourself as a new foreign minister, dealing with a new Secretary of State, a friend of mine and yours, Marco Rubio, very prominent evangelical, and loves Israel and gets the Iran threat and other threats. And of course, Mike Huckabee, the first very open and proud evangelical Christian ever to be appointed U.S. ambassador to Israel. And of course, you and I just had a breakfast with him a few months back when we brought a delegation here. So there's a lot of changes coming. But let's break those into pieces. The first thing is the reports.
First of all, it's important for me to emphasize, since you mentioned rightly so the bipartisanship, that we are working until the last minute with the current administration, and that helped Israel during the war, militarily, politically. We had some differences during those days, but we are grateful also for the help we got. And of course, we are working together on the immediate things that should be done every day. And of course, looking forward to work with the elected administration, with the elected president, which is a great friend of the State of Israel, and with his team.
Yeah, that's great. First, let's say, when the Prime Minister offered you this position, what are the top goals and objectives that he wanted you to focus on?
We see eye to eye. Number one issue is Iran, and number one issue on Iran is avoiding Iran get nuclear weapons. That's number one priority. And of course, there were all the issues of the war in Lebanon and Gaza, and I rejoined the government.
Right.
I was a member in the government in the first 6 months.
Right, when you and I sat for the Rosenberg Report before, you were a minister, then you left the government.
I had some differences because I thought that decisive actions should come earlier, and I resigned on March, but I came back after a series of sessions with the Prime Minister when I realized that we see eye to eye, and of course you can contribute in that challenging times much more in the government, and it was
to be
clear that it will.
In the 6 months between you leaving and rejoining, there had been a much more aggressive posture, in my view, in Lebanon and in Hamas, and a lot of successes.
Short time before I entered the government, it began and continued since, and most of what happened in Lebanon, for example, happened on September, October. I thought it should be earlier, but that's history. It's not important. The importance is that the Prime Minister led to the right decisions and to implement the right decisions, and some of them was really courageous decisions to take. And therefore, when we realize, both of us, we see eye to eye, that was clear we should work together, and rest is the task of Foreign Minister. I put on the table very important thing that I want to lead different approach with a significant budget to public diplomacy, to battle on the minds of so many people that hear lies against Israel time and again in world media. And in order to do so, of course, we make it sure in our coalition agreement that we will have the resources to do it on the budget of 2025. So that will, I believe, allow me to lead much more strong battle on the name of Israel, on the Israel interests and values around the world, and this is one of the tasks. So it's not only diplomatic work, which is crucial always, but also this work in world media, social net, because when you have public opinion against you in a democracy, in a Western democracies, it's hard for leaders to work against it. So We have this problem in some of the countries in Europe. The leadership want to go, but the public opinion, influenced by the media and the social, is somewhere else. So we have to close this gap, and we will have to work, and that's a core issue for Israel, not only in this war, but as a consistent thing.
So on that note, you told me just before we began the interview that this is your first interview on American television. First of all, thank you. Why would you pick America's most watched Christian television network to begin with, as opposed to any of the, quote, mainstream media networks?
Well, I hope I won't get anger from others, but it's very important. Your channel is broadcasting, and the people are watching are believers. And those believers perfectly understand the right of Israel on its homeland, the history of this country, the roots, and also the return to Zion, as the prophets said thousands of years ago, that we saw happening in front of our eyes. And we know there are supporters of the state of Israel, pray for Israel. So that was very important for me to approach them through your show.
Well, I appreciate it. And you know that when I texted you to ask you to be on the program, I actually didn't know that particular morning that by dinner time, you would be announced as the foreign minister. I just knew that you'd come back into the government, you're an important voice, and I thought, oh, it's time to ask Gideon Sa'ar how he sees, and what are the changes that he sees in the war fighting, that he's decided to make this big move and come back into the government. And then suddenly, you're the foreign minister.
The move I did at the end of September, and on my first day, we already were deciding to enter to Lebanon, our troops, and on the first day. And also on the second day, we had the attack from Iran, and we started consultations on how to retaliate and how to act. So I came in a very historical moment for the history of our country. And I'm grateful for that, because you are in politics with all the tough life that politics offer you, in order to be there and to try to influence for the good from your beliefs to the future of our country. And I'm happy that we reached Prime Minister Mr. Netanyahu and myself to an agreement that was based on the good of this country and the future of this country.
What are some of the biggest accomplishments that Israel has made in the last couple of months that many Christians in the United States and Canada and even around the world may not fully understand yet? In other words, the media is saying so much that's negative about Israel that what you know as day to day is like, oh, probably everybody knows this. I'm not sure that everybody does.
Yeah, first of all, we hadn't complete our missions there. But to understand it, it's an octopus. The head of the octopus is in Tehran, but its arms are right in our borders. So we don't have a border with Iran. We have Iran on our border without we having the border with Iran. And Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in the south, both are not only terror organizations. These are terror states because they control territory. They control residents. It's different, a new phenomenon. America knew that when it battled against the ISIS state. This was something new in the Middle East on Israel's border. And what Iran and the Axis Iran is plan to do is to eliminate Israel by an attack from several fronts, together with huge attack of missiles and rockets from all over. And we were attacked also from Yemen, from Syria, from Iraq, from Iran, on top of Gaza and Lebanon. What we did, to make it simple, during the last year, we weakened the two strongest arms of this octopus. So today, They cannot do today the original plan. They might try now to go to implement their nuclear plan, to have nuclear weapons, and to have a different elimination plan. But that was at least 2 decades of efforts to build these arms around Israel.
To strangle it. The octopus analogy is to strangle Israel.
And they surrounded it with a ring of fire. And it is very important. We already reached to a position when the main capabilities of these 2 terrorist states do not exist. Of course, they still exist. They have certain power. They're still fighting.
But you feel they're close, Israel's close to defeating both Hamas and Hezbollah.
We eliminated the majority of the capabilities of both terrorist states. We will have to be very decisive in the future, not to let them rebuild it as they did in the past, and to enforce by fire, even if we will have tomorrow or a month from now an agreement with Lebanon and there won't be any fire, we will have to implement that they won't bring again ammunition and weapons from Syria or from other places.
Right.
We will have to enforce by force also that Hezbollah fighters won't go down to our border south and then the Litani River. We will have a lot of work to keep it, but we already changed the situation on the ground.
Okay, 3 very fast lightning round questions, like super fast answers. First, is Israel going to have to actually attack Iran to neutralize that regime and that nuclear program?
The most important thing is that we should be decisive, avoiding Iran getting nuclear weapons. This is a commitment. This is a commitment needed for the future of this country. By the way, this was always Israel's doctrine. We eliminated nuclear facilities in Syria and in Iraq in the past.
Right.
And now they are trying to reach that for a much more dangerous, maybe the most dangerous regime in all the world. So we must avoid that. And if we can avoid it by a military operation, we will do that if it is necessary. There is a red line that won't be crossed, and that's a huge challenge to next year. And of course, there are diplomatic efforts. I don't want to undermine diplomatic efforts, but the most important thing is the result. And they are getting closer. And there is a huge pressure today on the leadership of Iran to make this extra mile to weaponize what they have achieved from the enrichment until now. And that shouldn't happen.
Okay.
And I think that today we see eye to eye, of course, with America and with other important countries in the world, that it shouldn't happen.
Okay, how optimistic are you heading into 2025 that you, the Prime Minister, and President Trump, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, could actually finalize a deal, a historic deal with the Saudis?
It's an opportunity we will welcome. I think President Trump demonstrated in the past he could have done things that other presidents hadn't by reaching the agreements with the Emirates, with Bahrain, with Morocco, with Sudan. This was all historical achievements of President Trump in his first term as a president. Of course, we would like to widen this normalization circle. There are things that connected to American politics that I'm not sure I'm the best expert to analyze, because you need.
But Israel's ready.
You
feel like Israel's
majority.
ready to do this.
Israel want to do it. I think there is a strong government today that can do it, and I hope we will meet this opportunity. And we trust President Trump that he will try to do it, because this is exactly the things he did in his first term.
Amen. Last super fast question, very important. About 6 years ago or so, Prime Minister Netanyahu was speaking at a Christian media summit, and somebody asked him, and he said, you know what, yes, that's a good idea. I would love to appoint an ambassador specifically to the Christian world. Now, because of lots of elections and COVID and war, that never quite happened. What's your view of, would it make sense to appoint someone who's specifically an Israeli to speak specifically to the Christian world, because that's the U.S., the Israeli ambassador to the U.S., the Israeli ambassador to England, Brazil, wherever, the Christians are part of their portfolio, but they don't have a specific focus. Is that a good idea, or is that sort of a diversion, a distraction?
Well, it should be considered, and I will consider that. But the most important thing is to understand that Christian believers are a natural allies and supporters of the state of Israel, and can be a great asset in our struggle for our rights, and not only in the U.S., but also in Brazil or in South Korea, in a lot of places. Absolutely. And I will surely emphasize this issue to the ministry under me in order to be implemented. And what is the right structure to do it, you should consider. But the most important thing is to understand the idea itself.
Great. Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar, thank you for
Joel.
your friendship.
Thank you.
And thank you for your leadership in this new role.
Thank you for your friendship. And I want to thank your watchers for their friendship to Israel and to the people of Israel.
God bless you. We're praying for you.
Thank
you so much. Appreciate it. So there you go. That was Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar's first interview that he gave to any American or Israeli media outlet of any kind. And I'm very, very honored that he would give it to TBN and All Israel News. So there's the full interview. And what you see there is a smart guy, an experienced Israeli political leader, someone who has had his own disagreements with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but believes it's time for Israel to win. He believes that he has helped persuade Netanyahu to be more aggressive, to finish off Hamas and finish off Hezbollah. And he appreciates, now that he sees the region, the war, eye to eye, they're on the same page, he and Prime Minister Netanyahu. He was honored to come back into the government and take this very senior position to be Israel's chief diplomat and chief spokesman in a world gone crazy, a world that hates Israel and has turned against Israel, is dumping an avalanche of lies against us, both in world governments as well as in the media. And I think it's very telling that the new foreign minister decided to give his first major interview to an evangelical journalist. And I think that speaks very highly of the fact that Israeli leaders right now feel that evangelicals are their best friends, and not their only friends. Obviously, the Jewish community is with Israel too, but it's getting harder to find faithful, solid friends that Israel can count on. And Israeli leaders are looking more and more to evangelicals. So please keep praying for the Prime Minister of Israel, for all of his senior team, obviously for Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar and their families, for their safety, for their wisdom. Please continue to pray that Israel achieves total victory in this war against the Iranian threat, and have real wisdom to know how to navigate, particularly with the Iran nuclear threat. Pray for a healthy close to the Biden-Harris administration vis-a-vis the relationship with Israel, and that the transition to power for the Trump-Vance team will go well, and that the U.S.-Israel relationship would be much stronger in the next 4 years than it has over the last year or so. From Jerusalem, this is Joel Rosenberg. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to go to YouTube to get our YouTube exclusive reports, and please keep praying, of course, for our hostages as well. And Lord willing, I'll see you next week right here on the Rosenberg Report.